Hey everyone, I'm Nikhil Trivedi, the Director of Engineering at the Art Institute of Chicago, and I'm really excited to be in this space to share with you all today. Chi-Hacknight is a respected institution among many of my colleagues and is one of the places we've been most excited to share our work with. Before I begin, I want to recognize that the Art Institute of Chicago is situated on what is recognized today as the traditional homelands of the Council of Three Fires, the Ojibwe, Odawa, and Potawatomi nations. Chicago has the third largest urban Native American population in the country, with over 100 tribal nations represented. I wouldn't be here sharing with you all today if it wasn't for the legacy of Indigenous people in Chicago. So I want to acknowledge those who have stewarded this land and waters for generations and continue to fight for a just present and future. I'm here today to share with you all a project that's been near and dear to the engineering team at the Art Institute, our public API. When I've talked about our API in the past, I've usually talked about the wild ride it's been developing such an open, transparent application within a 140-year-old institution. But as of today, the Art Institute is in our 7th week of the museum being completely closed to the public. So the wild ride of developing a public API just doesn't seem accurate in this moment of COVID-19. Nonetheless, I want you all to know that we haven't officially launched our API yet. But with all the uncertainty in the world today, I see so many of my peers hungry to create things that bring more joy into the world. And my hope is that our API can bring a little bit of joy into each of your lives. Today, I'll share with you the strategy behind our API, what we provide, and some of the cool things that have been built so far. As an organization, we publish a lot of content to the public. Artworks, catalogs, publications, shop products, events, mobile tours, microsites, articles, press releases, and on and on and on and on. Many of these are distributed through their own software stacks managed by distinct groups across the museum. A collections management system to manage information on our artworks, a digital asset management system to manage media of the collection, CRMs, e-commerce systems, website CMSs, library systems. It doesn't make sense to try to create a single system to serve the needs that each of these systems fill. But it does make sense to unify the publishing process across each of these platforms. While building our latest website that launched about a year and a half ago, we recognized that we wanted to use information that already existed in about 8 different systems. At that point, we could have written a bunch of custom code in our website to integrate with each of these systems. Since a partnering design and development firm did all the initial work, that would have meant that we would have paid them to write 8 custom integrations that likely couldn't be used anywhere else. I knew it wouldn't have been long before our mobile apps would need the same functionality, and we'd have to write custom integrations with at least some of these same systems. Follow that with in-gallery apps, our sales and ticketing site, and other amazing apps we have yet to write. We eventually would have had a convoluted mess spearheaded by our website project. I still cry a little just at the thought of it. Instead, we built a data hub that acts as an intermediary, aggregating data from all these systems. It handles all these integrations so each consuming system doesn't have to. Instead, each public-facing system like our website and mobile apps only has to figure out how to talk to one thing, and they can get everything they need. If they figure out how to get artwork data, then because the API is completely uniform, they already know how to get shop products, events, exhibitions, artists, and so forth. It continues to save a ton of developer time among our staff and with partner agencies whose jobs we're making a lot easier. Digging into the details a bit here, within this architecture, we wanted to make the integrations with each system easy and sustainable. Source systems might get swapped out with newer, shinier ones, and we want to make the work of switching as easy as possible. To manage this, we wrote small little microservices that sit in front of each source system. They collect and query data and provide it to the central aggregator in a predictable way. Each of our source systems provide its data in different ways, so these microservices are where the integration complexities lie. Some have their own APIs that are easy to work with. Others, we had to rely on periodic CSV exports. And for some, we even had to write scripts that scrape web pages within the applications. Please don't tell anyone. Regardless of how it happens, with these microservices in place, each system the central hub talks to provides its data in a uniform way, so the data hub import process becomes much easier and less complex. The benefit of this approach was demonstrated when we recently changed where we get our collections data from. We used to get all our collections metadata from our digital asset management system, which, if you're familiar with the nature of these types of systems, you'll know this doesn't really make any sense. It meant data had to go from our collections management system through a number of layers in our digital asset management system to the data hub before it finally found its way to our website. This process could take more than 24 hours. So last year, our collections dev team decided to provide its own API to simplify their systems. We gave them the specifications of how we built each of our microservices, they built their API, and then we changed our microservice to pivot to their new API, leaving the structure of the data that we provide ultimately to the website and mobile apps further downstream completely intact. We made a fundamental change to an internal system, and our website and mobile apps barely blinked. What used to take more than a day now took about 5 minutes. Internal staff were ecstatic, and our collections dev team was excited to deliver such transformative results. The Data Hub also provides search services across all the data that it collects, so you can search globally or across any number of resources you specify. The search is backed by Elasticsearch, and our service acts as a proxy to their interface. Elasticsearch's documentation is really rich, so it's a useful reference for our search. Now on to what we're actually providing. For an organization like ours, it's a lot. Metadata on over 100,000 artworks from our collection is available in the API, including relationships with other resources like artists, terms, and exhibitions. We have information on every exhibition we've hosted in our 140-year history. 1,000 products from our shop. Why shop products? Why not shop products? We didn't see any harm in including them, and we're kind of curious to see what'll happen. We have information on 20 years worth of microsites that we archived as part of this project with relationships to artworks, artists, and exhibitions. Blog articles going back 10 years, full publication texts. We're providing data that's never been available before and cross-system relationships that have never existed. All of that having been said, we've been able to do some pretty cool things with our API so far. We programmatically analyzed every image in our collection to determine their dominant color and released a search by color on our website last year. In the fall, we launched a browser extension to the Chrome Web Store that, when installed, shows you a randomly selected public domain artwork from our collection each time you open up a new tab. And we've also made available a command line script that displays artworks in your terminal window using only text characters. Our public API is one of a few different ways that we're enacting transparency and openness online at the Art Institute of Chicago. I'll quickly highlight the three main categories that we think about. First, open images. We currently offer over 50,000 images on our website for download under a public domain CC0 license, and the number's growing. Open source. Most of the code our engineers develop is available to the public on GitHub, including all the Data Hub code, our mobile apps, and in-gallery interactives. I feel like it's unusual for organizations to open source entire applications. Most of what I've seen from large organizations are tools and components, but we've open sourced our entire iOS and Android mobile apps, including their CMSs, our entire JourneyMaker app, which is an in-gallery interactive that lets visitors playfully create their own tours through our galleries. And we're working towards open sourcing our whole website later this year. And finally, what I'm here to talk with you all today about, open data. Later this year, we'll formally make our DataHub API open to the public. There's no registration required, and there's a good amount of documentation that we generated orienting you to what's available. And remember, this isn't just an Artworks API. This is an API of all of our museum's public data. So if you figure out how to parse through our artworks, you already know how to get to our exhibitions, artists, events, articles, shop products, publications, and so much more. I don't think I can put to words how excited we are to give you all a sneak peek of this project. I've personally been at the Art Institute for 14 years, and I came to the museum as someone who didn't grow up with a fondness of museums and never really expected to see myself in them. I'm hoping our public API could act as a surprising door of entry to folks who might have similar experiences and provide opportunities for collaborations with folks outside the museum that we may not have expected. Like the person who built a Twitter bot that tweets a randomly selected artwork from our collection every 6 hours. You can find them on Twitter at AICBot. Or someone else who recently reached out to us about an app that she built where you can text a phone number to get a randomly selected artwork from our collection. If you're feeling a little bit brave, you could try it out at 773-249-6838. As you can see, the engineering team at the Art Institute works hella hard, and we have a whole lot of fun at the same time. We're really excited to share this work with you and to hear what you might build with it. Thank you so much.